Next episode, next story. Let's do this. My last video was a whopping 30 minutes, but today I'm going to do my best to clear up the Eldia and Marley timeline in 10 minutes or less. Are you ready? So, Attack on Titan, as you may know, is the story of humanity trying to survive against giant human-eating titans in a world where titans live outside of the walls and people live inside of the walls. Or so we think. After witnessing firsthand the destruction of Titans, a young Eren Yeager decides he wants to join the Scout Regiment and fight against Titans and destroy them all. Eren Yeager, along with his friends Armin and Mikasa, also learn the origin of Titans, which takes everyone by surprise. The manga was written by Hajime Isayama, and it was published from September 2009 to April 2021 by Kodansha. The anime series aired from 2013 to 2023. So, in order for me to really break down the timeline of this series, I am going to need to do a few character introductions. But instead of starting with our main character, I'm actually going to go all the way back to the very beginning. So everything starts out in Eldia, which is located on the island of Paradis. The story actually starts with 3 pigs. There is symbolism associated with these pigs that we will come back to. The origin of the Titans. The pigs belong to King Fritz, an Eldian. A young girl named Ymir opens the gate to free the pigs and becomes enslaved by King Fritz when he finds out. Elsewhere in the kingdom, the source of all living matter, depicted as a centipede-type creature, exists. While being tortured for the release of the pigs, a tormented Ymir runs away and falls into a sinkhole. Here she makes contact with the source of all living matter, which results in her becoming the founding Titan. After this, King Fritz takes Ymir as his wife, using her Titan abilities as a weapon to maintain power. He forces Ymir to bear 3 children, daughters, Maria, Rose, and Sina. We'll come back to these names too. Now to introduce Marley. Marley is a nation that is located on an island opposite of Paradis Island. It was once a part of the Eldian Empire. Ymir dies protecting the king from a Marleyan attacker 13 years after becoming the founding Titan, starting what would later be known as the Curse of Ymir. The king then forces their daughters to eat the remains of their mother in order to carry on the Titan powers. Descendants of Ymir are known as the subjects of Ymir, and they are Eldians who can transform into Titans. On to the collapse of the Eldian Empire. The Eldians continue to wage war and conquer nations using the power of the Titans. Eventually, they run out of enemies completely, and the bloodshed still continues through civil war among Eldian aristocratic families who each possess Titan powers, leading to the Great Titan War. According to Marleyan legend, a heroic figure named Helos turns the tide of the war by manipulating Eldians into fighting one another. Marley uses this to their advantage and defeats Eldia and steals 7 out of the 9 Titan powers. And if you're unaware with what those 9 Titan powers are, I do have a short on it. They gain control over most of the mainland until Paradis Island becomes the last Eldian stronghold. King Fritz moves as many Eldians as he can into Paradis. He gives an ultimatum that any act of war against Eldia will be met with the release of countless Titans inside the walls. And with that, the Great Titan War ends. But wait, there's more. The truth is, King Fritz actually orchestrated the entire end of the Great Titan War. He believed that the sins of Eldia just could not justify his continued rule of the nation. So he chose to show mercy on the oppressed Marleyans. He joined forces with the Tiber family, manipulated the remaining Eldians against one another, and allowed Marley to rise as the victors. The myth of Helos was created to give Marleyans the glory of winning the war. So, to jump back into our timeline, we're gonna start with King Fritz again. In secret, King Fritz never planned to uphold his ultimatum. In fact, he had no intentions of fighting should Paradis be invaded. He just wanted to live out the rest of his reign in peace. As a result, he used the founding Titans' power to wipe the memories of Eldians on Paradis, removing their knowledge of the outside world and life beyond the walls. He erected 3 walls named after his daughters. Remember, we were going to come back to those. Wall Maria, Wall Rose, and Wall Cena. Fritz also ensured that the only people who could use the founding Titans' true power were those who inherited both his bloodline and his ideology, and who would continue to renounce the vow he made. Meanwhile, the Tiber family remained the true power behind Marley, but they ruled mostly from the shadows. How Shiganshina fell. So, after Eldia collapsed, Eldians who stayed on the mainland were forced into internment zones, and they were treated like second-class citizens. Marley then began using the Titan power to expand into a large colonial empire. Zeke Yeager, the brother of Eren Yeager, turned in his parents, Grisha and Dina, who actually had royal blood, for being Eldian restorationists. They were injected with Titan serum and sent into Paradis to become pure Titans, which was a punishment for a lot of people. Along with punishing Eldians by injecting them with the Titan serum and sending them into the walls of Paradis, there was also a warrior unit in the Marleyan army, which was a select group of Eldian children who trained to inherit Titan powers and serve in military conquests. By this point, though, wars had far advanced, and the use of fuel was going to be a way to win wars, and Titans alone just would not be enough. So because of this, Marley set its sights back on Paradis, who was said to have large reserves of fossil fuel. As a result, Marley launched the Paradis Island operation, sending 4 Titan shifters inside the walls to retrieve the founding Titan. And that is how we end up at the beginning of Attack on Titan. So the 3 pigs. Remember I brought those up at the very beginning? There is a very strong theory in the Attack on Titan lore that those 3 pigs that Ymir opened the gate to release represented Eren, Grisha, and Zeke. But Eren is the only one who actually escaped. So after I got through all of that, I'll leave you with just a few things to ponder. The first one being, can we see how the cycle of history repeated itself? When Eldia had Titan powers, they used it to become a large colonial empire. When Marley stole the Titan powers, what did they start doing? Using it to become a large colonial empire. So, because of how Eldia started and fell, and Marley, we could just guess what the result of that was going to be. Number 2, it was always Eren. Number 3, if it had not been for needing fuel to fight in wars, would the Titans have still attacked Paradis eventually? For something else, maybe? And lastly, if Eren was able to use Titan powers to manipulate space and time, why not go back to the very beginning and just stay in the pig pen? That would have prevented Ymir from being tortured. She would have never fell into the sinkhole, and she would have never become the founding Titan. Just something to think about. Who do you think was the real enemy between Eldia and Marley? Let me know below in the comments. When one arc ends, another one begins. See you next time.